Well, it's an honor to meet you. Thank
too.
you so much for being with us. And
My pleasure.
What an honor to be here in Japan. In case you didn't know, I was born and raised in Japan. I grew up in Japan. I've never missed a single Tokyo Motor Show when it was called Tokyo Motor Show for the last 30 years.
Oh,
so
there you go.
so exciting to be here again after that.
Yeah.
Simon, could you just for the audience tell them a little bit more about what you do, your background, so forth?
Yeah, well, I'm a designer by trade. So I've been designing products, cars and everything else since 1988. So 34 years. And now I'm director of Toyota as well. So I'm Chief Branding Officer as well as Head of Design for both Toyota and Lexus. Yeah.
You have a very important position there.
Yeah,
I'd
like to think so.
Yeah, lots of new things coming in the future, I'm sure. Tell me a little bit more about, so let's start with the Lexus first. As we embark on this long journey toward EVs and many other transformation taking place, how do you continue to differentiate the Lexus brand from many competitors that are very established in many parts of the world? Is it a design? Is it a concept? Is it engineering? How do you actually differentiate so that Lexus still stand at the top?
Well, the easy answer is that it's all of them. It's the total experience. I mean, that's what it's all about now. So, the product, if you like, the physical product is one part of that.
Yes.
And as we move forward, it's not only going to be about that. And we've proved that in the past, when Lexus was first introduced, the sales part, the after-service part, that became a big part of the Lexus experience. And we were appreciated for that, I think, So I think we're already aware that the total experience is a big thing. But the other side of it is that when you get to a technological level like we're at today, I think that the digital side, the physical side, service side, it's about how you arrange all of those things into a new experience as well. So, looking forward, we got the whole world. It's infinite.
Yes.
So the ways to differentiate is the way that you provide a total experience.
So to make sure that there's a whole ecosystem looking after the customer.
Absolutely.
And so it's more than just about the product or dealership, and they feel something different about owning a Lexus, I guess.
That's right. Yeah.
So we own a couple of 2023 Lexus GX, and actually we bought the RZ as well.
Right.
So actually long-term customer for Lexus.
Thank you very much.
And we love the product, but we also know that it is changing a lot. For example, the GX is changing, and it looks like there are many other changes to come. So how do you keep the Lexus? So not so much about the customer side, but now on the product side, how do you keep the DNA of what Lexus stands for? In fact, how would you even define it now that it is continuing to change?
Yeah, well, we in design, we have our own philosophy, if you like, to define what we do.
Yes,
and the important thing about, philosophy is that it isn't, about the this line has to stay or this graphic has to be kept. It's about, a state of mind and a value to the customer. So we like to try and think, for example, that the car's going to anticipate your needs, because I think that's a big part of what the Japanese hospitality system's about. It's about anticipating you. So in that car over there, if you have a chance, in the interior, we are striving now to create a new user interface that actually anticipates your needs depending on the situation. So at this point in time, that philosophy is, if you like, put into concrete terms in that way. But it may be another way in the future.
Right, I see.
I think that's the most important thing, that you're always looking toward the same direction, but the way that you realize that can change, and that's the importance.
And just getting a little bit more specific into this particular model, 2026, I think you said, is when it will likely to come out, and you will have the advanced lithium battery. Can you tell us a little bit more about the potential for range and how fast it can be charged?
Well,
and so forth?
The range side of it, we've announced a figure of 1,000 kilometers, and that also is dependent on which system, which region you measure that in. But anyway, it's
about
it's a range of about 1,000 kilometers. Yeah. And the reason that we embarked on a car that looks like this, very low, is not only for functional needs, for example, aerodynamics and those type of things, but also it's going to push us to minimize the components.
Yes.
And if we minimize the components, we can get better design, more freedom in design. And then when we've got those minimalized components, we can take those into whatever type of car we want to make in the future.
Yes.
So this car, the C in the name, and the ZC is actually catalyst. So this is a catalyst for the future. So if we can minimize everything to that point, then we get more design freedom.
Right.
We get more design freedom. We can offer better experiences, for everybody in all types of products.
Very interesting. So you're talking about when you say design freedom, like, for example, this one is the one that's going to use a GigaPress technology, I think, is that right?
Yeah.
So have a less number of parts, but larger pieces that can be combined together to reduce the manufacturing time. Is that one of the goals as well?
That's one of the goals, yeah. And you can see on the car itself, the front end, where there used to be an engine, now there's literally nothing at all. It's down to the wheel size. So it's not only about gigacasting, it's about battery size, battery height, battery capacity within those size limitations, about all the components that surround air conditioners, this, that, and the other. They all have to be minimalized.
Right.
And if they're minimalized, then the amount of space that's taken up by components is reduced, and the amount of space left for you or for a passenger or for me to make a different shape, whatever, becomes greater.
Space
so it's win-win.
Space utilization is much better. I guess. Just switching gear for a moment here. When we went from the older design to newer design, and for example, in the old days we had hydraulic power steering. Obviously, that's gone with electric. Now it's gone to electric power steering, and everything is sort of less hydraulic, less mechanical devices. So that means when you drive the car, sometimes we lose a sensation that we used to have. And so, how do you maintain a good driving character in the future of automobiles when everything is essentially connected through electric system, and so there's no more mechanical connection between our body and the car as a whole? So it's hard to replicate those feelings. How do you continue to do that?
I think that for example, our chairman, Akio Toyoda, he loves cars, and I don't think he's going to let that slip.
Right.
So whether or not
cars,
that's right. And if whether you have a mechanical steering or a steer-by-wire system, there are ways and means to create feedback. And one of the things that he often talks about is that conversation, if you like, a dialogue between driver and car, and that's an essential part of the value of the vehicle. Whatever happens, we won't let that disappear. There needs to be
some kind of connection.
That connection. Otherwise, it'll become sterile. So, I think one of the messages that you can take from this vehicle is that, there's a prioritization of emotional factors.
Right.
Design and driving and enjoyment, all those things. They're not going to disappear because of technology.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to driving at some point.
That's right.
So now, in terms of branding, with I know this is a little bit on the Toyota brand versus Lexus, but now that the Crown has come out, not just with one but multiple models, and it looks like a Land Cruiser is also having its own a bit of a branding situation with multiple Land Cruiser models. So now you have a Lexus, but you also have a Crown, and so how do you make sure that they don't directly compete, or maybe it is okay for them to compete, but how do you provide that differentiation when more and more of the individual branding is coming higher and higher up in the ladder?
Yeah, well, the critical thing here is that, what we've done with Land Cruiser is a good example. In other words, Land Cruiser is Land Cruiser for a reason.
Yes.
It's a car that you can literally entrust your life with.
Yes.
It's going to take you anywhere, and it's going to get you back again.
Yes.
And the styling, if you like, from a design point of view, reflects that concept.
Right.
The most important thing is that every single vehicle is honest, true to purpose.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then you can pretty much be assured that they won't overlap.
I see. But they have their own individual characters.
That's right.
And their purpose and their mission.
That's right. And so, as from a customer point of view, you go there, you want one car.
Yes.
And you're only choosing one car in a lot of cases.
Right.
And that car has to be 100% true.
True.
So that's the way I handle the Toyota side. So that's the reason that Land Cruiser is, more, purist Land Cruiser. And that's the reason that Crown is what is Crown. That's the reason Prius or Alphard or Velfire or whatever the car it might be, the styling represents or symbolizes the concept. So
Right,
it's
I see.
100% honest.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now for the Land Cruiser, I'm sorry to go back to Land Cruiser model there for a second, but the electric Land Cruiser is no longer body on the frame. It's now unitized body, but I believe that's the first non-body on the frame Land Cruiser, I believe.
Yeah.
So that appears to be a little bit conflicting with the whole idea of go anywhere, off-road capable Land Cruiser. Is that something that you guys concerned
Well, first
about?
of all,
or?
the main thing is the definition of what you can do with
Okay.
what, how far that can go.
Yes.
So
yes,
everybody understands very clearly that the Land Cruiser has to be true to its purpose. So
yes.
that has to be as a sort of like a start point, if you see what I mean.
Right. Okay.
But then there's the other side of it, and says, well, Land Cruiser doesn't have to mean unilaterally it was the top of the mountain. You doesn't have to climb to the top. There are a lot of usage scenarios that we can envisage for Land Cruiser away from that single center point.
Right.
So
okay.
it's an experiment in a lot of ways to see how we can develop that Land Cruiser experience.
Right, okay. Interesting. Well, thank you so much for all the amazing insights. We're always inspired by your speech, and we watch you all the time in the press conferences, and your style is very different from many other leaders that we come across, and you're very philosophical, and the emotions can be felt through the videos, and so I'm really just honored to meet you here.
Yeah, it's an honor to meet you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good trip anyway.
Thank you.